Before we dive in, please note that this presentation is for informational and educational purposes only. The content discussed is not professional career or financial advice. An MBA is a significant investment, and you should always conduct your own thorough research and consult with qualified professionals before making any major career or financial decisions. The MBA you think you know is dead. The 2-year, $200,000 degree that for decades was the undisputed golden passport to the corner office is obsolete, a relic, and the most elite business schools in America know it. Right now, behind the ivy-covered walls of Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton, a quiet revolution is underway, a frantic, high-stakes reinvention of business education itself, because they understand a terrifying truth. The skills that built the corporate empires of the 20th century are the very same skills that will lead to irrelevance in the 21st. Think about it. The traditional MBA was designed for a world that no longer exists. A world of predictable 5-year plans, stable industries, and linear career paths. It taught you how to analyze the past to predict the future. It taught you how to optimize existing systems, how to manage resources within a known framework, how to climb a well-defined corporate ladder. It was, in essence, a training program for middle managers in a slow-moving industrial economy. But that world is gone. We now live in an age of perpetual disruption. Artificial intelligence isn't just a buzzword. It's a force of nature rewriting the rules of every single industry, every single day. Global supply chains can be shattered overnight by a geopolitical event or a pandemic. A startup founded in a garage can dethrone a Fortune 500 company in less than a decade. The corporate ladder hasn't just been shaken. It's been dismantled and replaced by a chaotic, ever-shifting jungle gym. In this new world, optimizing the known is a recipe for extinction. The new imperative is navigating the unknown. And that is precisely why the top business schools are in a panic. They see the skepticism growing. They see brilliant, ambitious people asking the hard question. Is an MBA still worth it? Is it worth the crippling debt and 2 years out of the workforce when the most valuable skills are changing faster than they can print textbooks? This video is your insider's guide to their answer. We are going to pull back the curtain on the future of the MBA by revealing what the world's most powerful business schools are teaching their students right now. Not the stuff in the glossy brochures, but the core, cutting-edge curriculum changes that are redefining what it means to be a business leader. And let me be clear, this isn't just for people thinking about getting an MBA. This is a survival guide for anyone serious about their career. Whether you're a startup founder, a mid-level manager trying to get to the next level, or a C-suite executive trying to future-proof your company, the skills we're about to break down are the new currency of power, influence, and relevance. We've spent months digging through the latest curriculum guides, analyzing new course syllabi, and speaking with recent graduates from the M7 schools, the undisputed titans of business education, to synthesize the fundamental shifts that are happening. This is your roadmap to the skills that will matter for the next decade. The first and most important tectonic shift is a move away from what I call case study certainty. For 100 years, the cornerstone of business education, pioneered by Harvard, was the case study method. Students would be given a 100-page document about a decision a company like Coca-Cola or General Electric made in 1985. They'd spend hours analyzing the data, debating the pros and cons, and then coming to class prepared to argue for the right solution. The entire exercise was a brilliant forensic analysis of the past. It trained a generation of leaders to be excellent historians of business. The problem is, we don't need business historians anymore. We need business pioneers. We need leaders who can make decisions when there is no case study, when the data is incomplete, messy, or non-existent. We need people who don't just analyze value, but create it from scratch in the face of radical uncertainty. And so, the new MBA is systematically dismantling the pedestal of the case study and replacing it with something far more chaotic, more realistic, and infinitely more valuable. Real-world, high-stakes problem-solving. They're moving from the classroom to the lab. Take a look at MIT Sloan. They have something called Action Learning Labs. This isn't a simulation. This is the real deal. A team of MBA students might be dropped into a fast-growing AI healthcare startup in Boston that's burning through cash and struggling to find a product-market fit. Their task isn't to write a report on what the company should have done. Their task is to work with the founders right now to develop and test a new go-to-market strategy before the next board meeting in 6 weeks. They have to interview real customers, build a real financial model based on shaky assumptions, and pitch a real strategy to a real CEO who has real employees to pay. There is no right answer in the back of a book. More often than not, their first hypothesis is dead wrong. Their first prototype fails. Their initial market assumptions are completely off. And that is the entire point. The old MBA taught you how to avoid failure by studying past successes. The new MBA teaches you how to leverage failure to learn and adapt faster than your competition. It's the difference between studying the blueprints of an old battleship and learning how to captain a fleet of agile speedboats through a storm. One is about stability and overwhelming force in a predictable sea. The other is about speed, maneuverability, and constant adaptation in a chaotic ocean. Stanford's Graduate School of Business has a similar ethos, famously encapsulated in courses like Lean Launchpad. Students don't just write a business plan, they are forced out of the building to build a minimum viable product, get it in front of actual users, and get punched in the face by the reality of the market. They learn the brutal, humbling lesson that their brilliant strategy, conceived in the comfort of a classroom, means nothing until it makes contact with the customer. It's a curriculum built not on analysis but on action, not on perfection but on iteration. So what does this shift from knowing to doing mean for you? Even if you never set foot on one of these campuses, it means that the way you demonstrate your value at work has fundamentally changed. Your boss and your boss's boss are less interested in your ability to write a perfect report analyzing last quarter's results. They are desperately searching for people who can take on ambiguous projects with no clear path to success and simply figure it out. They want people who can launch a new initiative, learn from the initial messy results, and pivot without waiting for permission. The most valuable employees and leaders in this new economy are not the ones with all the answers. They are the ones with the best questions. They are the ones who are comfortable with being wrong. They are the ones who have the courage to run small, fast experiments instead of waiting months for a committee to approve a grand, perfect plan. This is a seismic shift in mindset. The old model rewarded you for defending your position and being right. The new model rewards you for updating your position and learning quickly. This is the new foundation. It's the operating system being installed in the next generation of leaders. An obsession with action over analysis, with experimentation over planning, and with resilience in the face of the unknown. It's a radical departure from the MBA of the past. But this is just the beginning. This is just the bedrock. Built on top of this foundation are entirely new frameworks for strategy, for leadership, and for communication that are even more revolutionary. If you can't rely on 5-year plans and historical data, what do you rely on? If the old top-down command and control style of leadership is dead, what replaces it? The answers are being forged in these elite academic institutions, and they are completely counterintuitive. The new rulebook for business is being written, and the first chapter is clear. Stop trying to predict the future, and start building the capacity to thrive in any future that comes. But to do that, you need a new way of making decisions, a new way of leading teams through chaos. And it all starts with a concept that is becoming the central pillar of the modern Wharton curriculum. A powerful framework for making high-stakes decisions under extreme uncertainty, and it's a complete reversal of traditional strategic thinking. It's a technique pioneered by psychologist Gary Klein, and it's called a pre-mortem. The name itself tells you everything you need to know. We're all familiar with a post-mortem. After a project fails, after a patient dies on the operating table, the team gets together to analyze what went wrong, to learn from the mistakes. A pre-mortem is the exact same process, but you do it before you even start. Imagine this. You're in a boardroom. The CEO has just laid out a bold new 5-year strategy. It's ambitious, it's exciting, and hundreds of millions of dollars are on the line. The traditional MBA playbook would have you build a discounted cash flow model, run some market projections, and stress test the assumptions. It's a process built on prediction, on the belief that you can, with enough data, forecast the future. The pre-mortem flips the table on that entire idea. Instead of asking, how do we make this plan succeed? The leader running the pre-mortem looks at the team and says, okay, everyone, I want you to imagine it's 5 years from now. We executed this exact strategy, and it has been an unmitigated disaster, an absolute catastrophe. Our company is on the brink of bankruptcy, our brand is ruined, and our biggest competitor just bought our headquarters for pennies on the dollar. Now write down every single reason you can think of for why we failed. Suddenly, the entire dynamic in the room changes. The social pressure to be a team player, to be optimistic, to rally behind the leader's vision, it vanishes. The person who is normally too hesitant to voice a concern for fear of sounding negative is now a hero. Their job is to be a critic. It's a cognitive sleight of hand. By framing the failure as a certainty that has already happened, it psychologically liberates the team to tap into their analytical and critical thinking skills without fear of reprisal. This isn't just a thought exercise. It's a powerful antidote to the most dangerous biases that plague corporate decision-making. It systematically dismantles groupthink, where everyone nods along to avoid conflict. It short-circuits confirmation bias, our natural tendency to only seek out information that supports our existing beliefs. And most importantly, it weaponizes the human brain's incredible ability for storytelling. We are far better at creating a causal story for a past event, even a fictional one, than we are at predicting a future one. The premortem tricks our brain into doing what it does best. So why is this becoming a cornerstone of elite MBA programs now? Because the fundamental nature of the business world has changed. The old model of predict and control is dead. We live in an age of radical uncertainty. Think about the last few years alone. A global pandemic that shut down the world economy, supply chain shocks that brought global trade to its knees, the sudden explosive arrival of generative AI that is poised to upend every industry on the planet, geopolitical conflicts creating ripples of instability. A 5-year plan written in 2019 was laughable by 2020. A strategy that didn't account for AI in 2022 looks ancient in 2024. The world is no longer a complicated but predictable chessboard. It's a chaotic, dynamic system where the rules are constantly changing. Success is no longer about having the best plan. It's about having the most resilient and adaptable organization. And the premortem is a resilience-building machine. It forces companies to think not about a single probable future, but about a wide range of possible futures, especially the ones they don't want. Let's take a classic tragic business case study, Kodak. In 1975, a Kodak engineer named Steve Sasson invented the world's first digital camera. It was the size of a toaster, took 23 seconds to capture a 0.01 megapixel black and white image, and stored it on a cassette tape. It was a prototype, a curiosity, but it was the future. And Kodak's leadership buried it. Why? Because their entire business model was built on film. They made billions selling film, paper, and chemicals. Digital photography was a direct threat to their cash cow. They were suffering from a classic case of success-induced blindness. Now, imagine if the Kodak board had run a premortem in 1985. The prompt: it's the year 2005. We are bankrupt. Film is a niche hobbyist product. What happened? What would the engineers and junior managers have written down? The resolution of digital sensors improved exponentially. The cost of digital storage plummeted. Computers and the internet made sharing digital photos free and instantaneous. A competitor, maybe a Japanese electronics company, built an ecosystem around digital cameras, printers, and software. Every single one of those points would have been a direct hit. The writing wasn't just on the wall. It was invented in their own lab. A premortem would have forced them to confront the terrifying future they were actively trying to ignore. It would have shifted the conversation from, how do we protect our film business, to, how do we become the kings of the digital imaging business we are in the process of inventing. It's a subtle but profound shift in perspective that could have saved one of America's great industrial giants. This is what Wharton, Stanford, and Harvard are drilling into their students. They are being trained to be the person in the room who has the courage and the framework to ask the uncomfortable questions. They're learning that true strategic leadership isn't about rallying everyone around a single optimistic vision. It's about building an organization that is paranoid in the best sense of the word, constantly scanning the horizon for threats, stress testing its own assumptions, and building the capacity to adapt when, not if, the future proves to be different from the forecast. This shift from prediction to preparation is everything. It redefines the very role of a business leader. You're no longer the captain charting a single course through calm seas. You're the architect of a ship that can withstand any storm, from any direction. It means valuing dissent over consensus. It means rewarding people who identify problems, not just those who propose solutions. It's about creating a culture of psychological safety where the most junior analyst feels empowered to say, I think the emperor has no clothes. But this framework of thinking like a pessimist to achieve optimistic results is only half the equation. Because once you've run a premortem and generated a list of 50 potential icebergs that could sink the ship, a new massive problem emerges. How do you decide which threats are real and which are just phantoms? How do you prioritize? How do you quantify the unquantifiable risk of a black swan event? To do that, you need a completely different set of skills, a new arsenal of technological tools that are transforming MBAs from traditional managers into something far more powerful, something more akin to data scientists and quantitative futurists. So what does a quantitative futurist actually look like in practice? Forget the image of a pinstriped executive poring over static spreadsheets and quarterly reports. The new MBA graduate is more likely to be found in a hoodie, hunched over a Jupyter notebook, not just analyzing what happened last quarter, but building a simulation of the next 10 years. They're not just reading market research. They're scraping millions of online reviews and using natural language processing to decode consumer sentiment in real time. This isn't a subtle evolution. It's a seismic shift in the very DNA of business leadership. For decades, the MBA toolkit was standardized. You learned Porter's 5 forces, the SWOT analysis, the BCG matrix. These were the sacred texts. They were powerful frameworks for understanding a relatively stable, predictable world. You could analyze an industry, identify a competitive advantage, and build a 5-year plan. But that world is gone. The 5-year plan is dead, killed by exponential technological change and global volatility. Today, a disruptive startup can dismantle an entire industry in 18 months. Relying on those classic frameworks alone is like bringing a beautifully crafted sword to a drone fight. They're elegant, historic, but utterly outmatched. The new arsenal is computational. The new language isn't just finance. It's Python. And this is the first and perhaps most shocking change for many incoming MBA students. At schools like MIT Sloan, Chicago Booth, and Wharton, a foundational understanding of programming is no longer a niche skill for the quant jocks. It's becoming as fundamental as accounting. Think about that. The ability to write code is now being treated with the same importance as the ability to read a balance sheet. Why? Because in a world drowning in data, you either learn to swim or you sink. Let's be clear. These programs are not trying to turn marketing managers into software engineers. The goal isn't for a future CEO to spend her days debugging code. The purpose is far more profound. It's about changing the way they think. When you learn to code, you learn to break down a massive complex problem into small, logical, manageable steps. You learn about systems, about inputs and outputs, about efficiency and optimization at a granular level. More importantly, you learn to speak the language of the people who are building the future of your company. A CEO who can't have an intelligent conversation with her data science team about model architecture or API integrations is fundamentally illiterate in the modern corporate landscape. She can't ask the right questions. She can't challenge their assumptions. She can't spot the fatal flaw in the algorithm that's about to set her company's pricing strategy. She's flying blind. Take Wharton, for example. It has gone all in on this. Students can now major in business analytics, and the courses are intense. We're talking data wrangling with Python, predictive analytics for business, and AI, business, and society. But the real magic is how this isn't siloed. It's not just a tech track. These quantitative methods are being woven into the very fabric of the core curriculum. In a marketing class, you're not just discussing customer segmentation. You're using the R programming language to run clustering algorithms on real customer data to discover non-obvious segments that traditional methods would have missed. In an operations class, you're not just talking about supply chain theory. You're building Monte Carlo simulations to model risk and optimize logistics under 1,000 different potential futures. In finance, you're moving beyond Excel models to build machine learning algorithms that can predict credit default with a higher accuracy than ever before. This leads to the second pillar of the new MBA: a deep, practical immersion in machine learning and artificial intelligence. This is where things get really futuristic. For most of business history, analytics was descriptive or diagnostic. It was about looking in the rearview mirror. You'd analyze past sales data to figure out what happened and why it happened. It was valuable but inherently reactive. The revolution that's happening inside these business schools is the universal shift to predictive and prescriptive analytics. It's about building a crystal ball with data. Instead of just analyzing last year's customer churn, an MBA student today is tasked with building a predictive model that identifies which specific customers are most likely to leave in the next 90 days, and even prescribes the single best intervention: a discount, a phone call, a special offer to keep them. This is a superpower. It transforms every single function of a business. A product manager can use AI to analyze feature requests and predict which new feature will have the biggest impact on user engagement. A human resources manager can use it to predict employee attrition and identify future leaders. A C-suite executive can use it to model the financial impact of a new factory in Vietnam versus Mexico, factoring in everything from geopolitical risk to future climate change data. This isn't theoretical. Top firms are demanding it. A recruiter from a major consulting firm told me recently that 5 years ago, they looked for MBAs who could build a great PowerPoint deck. Now they look for MBAs who can build a great predictive model in Python and then build a great PowerPoint deck to explain its business implications to a non-technical CEO. The skill set has been stacked. The bar has been raised. And it's forcing a painful realization. The manager who relies solely on gut instinct and years of experience is an endangered species. Their intuition, honed over decades in a stable world, is often a liability in a rapidly changing one. It's biased, it's based on an incomplete data set of their own experiences, and it can't compete with an algorithm that has analyzed every single customer transaction the company has ever had. The new MBA curriculum is designed to create a hybrid leader, one who respects the power of human intuition but knows how to augment and validate it with rigorous, data-driven evidence. They're taught to be skeptical of the black box, to probe the AI for bias, to understand its limitations, and to know when to trust the model and when to trust their gut. This fusion of data science and business strategy is creating a new breed of executive. They're ambidextrous, fluent in both the language of the boardroom and the language of the database. They can brainstorm a creative marketing campaign in the morning, and in the afternoon, write the SQL query to pull the data to measure its effectiveness. This is the new table stakes for high-level leadership. It's the ability to bridge the gap between the technical and the strategic, to translate the arcane world of algorithms into tangible business value. But this relentless focus on technology and data raises a crucial, almost paradoxical question. As these business schools train their students to think more like machines, to quantify everything, to optimize every decision, are they losing something in the process? Are they creating a generation of hyper-efficient, data-driven sociopaths? The answer is a resounding no. In fact, the most radical and important shift happening inside these elite institutions isn't about technology at all. It's the exact opposite. Because they've realized that as artificial intelligence handles more of the analytical, quantitative work, the skills that become infinitely more valuable are the ones that are uniquely, irreplaceable human. Skills like radical empathy, creative synthesis, and moral courage. For decades, these were dismissed as soft skills. Nice to have, sure, but secondary to the hard-nosed quantitative analysis that really drove the bottom line. That world is over. In the age of AI, these are now the hardest, most essential skills of all. They are the new power skills. And top business schools are radically redesigning their programs to forge leaders who master them. Let's start with the first pillar. Deep, actionable empathy. This isn't about just being a good listener or feeling sorry for someone. This is about the ability to truly inhabit the perspective of another person. A customer, an employee, a competitor, a regulator, and use that insight to drive strategy. The most famous and perhaps most intense example of this is at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. For over 50 years, they've had a course officially called Interpersonal Dynamics. But every student, every alum, knows it by its real name, touchy-feely. And it is legendary for a reason. There are no textbooks, no lectures, no PowerPoint slides. For 10 weeks, students are put into small confidential groups of 12. And for hours on end they do one thing: talk. They talk about how they perceive each other. They give and receive raw, unfiltered, and often brutal feedback. They explore how their words, their tone, their body language actually land on other people versus how they intend for it to land. It is an emotional gauntlet. Students are pushed far outside their comfort zones, forced to confront their own blind spots and defense mechanisms. Why would a top business school put its high-achieving, analytically minded students through what sounds like intensive group therapy? Because Stanford realized something profound long ago. You can't lead a team if you don't understand how you impact them. You can't negotiate a deal if you can't read the room. You can't design a product for a customer you don't fundamentally understand on a human level. Touchy-feely isn't about making friends. It's about building a finely tuned emotional instrument within yourself. It's a leadership laboratory where the experiment is you. And this philosophy is spreading. Across the country, schools are integrating experiential learning modules designed to build not just intellectual intelligence, but emotional intelligence, recognizing it as a critical tool for navigating the complexity of modern organizations. The second pillar that schools are doubling down on is the ability to navigate ambiguity and solve problems that have no playbook. AI is phenomenal at optimizing known systems and finding patterns in existing data. But what happens when you're faced with a problem the world has never seen before? A global pandemic shuts down your supply chain. A new technology upends your entire industry overnight. A sudden cultural shift makes your brand irrelevant. There's no data set for that. There's no algorithm that can tell you what to do next. This is the realm of human creativity and intuitive leaps. And to teach it, schools like MIT Sloan are throwing out the old case study method, where there's a neat, prepackaged problem with a known historical solution. Instead, they're throwing students into the fire with their action learning labs. These aren't simulations. Students are deployed in teams around the world to work with real companies, from startups in Nigeria to tech giants in Shanghai, on their messiest, most urgent, and most undefined problems. They're given a vague mandate. Help us figure out how to enter the South American market. Or our user engagement is falling and we don't know why. There is no answer in the back of the book. The professors don't have the solution. The students are dropped into a sea of chaos and told to swim. They have to define the problem themselves. They have to figure out what data to even look for. They have to navigate unfamiliar cultures, deal with difficult clients, and manage intense team dynamics under pressure. It's frustrating. It's messy. It often fails. But through that process, they learn something far more valuable than any framework. They learn how to create structure out of chaos. They learn how to test hypotheses, how to pivot quickly, and how to build something valuable from a starting point of pure uncertainty. They are being trained not as analysts, but as entrepreneurial thinkers, capable of creating value where none existed before. This leads directly to the third, and perhaps most significant, shift in MBA education. The elevation of ethical leadership and social impact from a fringe elective to a core, non-negotiable component of the curriculum. For a long time, the gospel of business, as famously preached by Milton Friedman, was that the social responsibility of business is to increase its profits. That was it. End of story. Today, that idea is not just outdated, it's seen as dangerously naive. Schools like the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley have embedded this new reality into their very DNA, with defining principles like question the status quo and beyond yourself. This isn't just a marketing slogan on a brochure. It's a fundamental lens through which every subject is taught. In finance class, they don't just ask, how do we maximize shareholder return? They ask, what is the impact of this investment on the community? What are the long-term environmental risks we're not pricing in? In a marketing class, they don't just study how to sell more products. They debate the ethics of persuasive technology and the responsibility a company has for the digital well-being of its customers. They are wrestling with the hardest questions facing modern capitalism. Questions like, when your AI-driven hiring tool shows a statistically significant bias against a protected group, what do? Turning it off hurts efficiency and profit. Leaving it on perpetuates inequality and opens you up to massive legal and reputational risk. There is no easy answer. And business schools are no longer pretending there is. They are creating environments where future leaders are forced to grapple with these trade-offs, to defend their positions, and to develop a robust ethical framework that can guide them when they're in the hot seat and millions of dollars, and people's livelihoods are on the line. They're teaching that in the 21st century, a durable brand and long-term profitability are impossible without a genuine commitment to social and ethical responsibility. Customers, and especially employees, demand it. They want to buy from and work for companies that stand for something more than just profit. And so what was once seen as a constraint on business is now being reframed as what it truly is: the ultimate source of sustainable competitive advantage. Empathy, creativity in the face of ambiguity, and a strong ethical compass. These three pillars form the new foundation of elite MBA education. It's a profound pivot away from the purely analytical manager of the 20th century and towards the adaptive, humane leader of the 21st. But this raises a critical question. If you're spending all this time on these softer human skills, are you falling behind on the hard technical skills that Wall Street and Silicon Valley still demand? The answer is a resounding no, and the way schools are merging these two worlds, the human and the technological, is perhaps the most radical change of all. Instead of bolting on soft skills as an afterthought, they're embedding them directly into the core of their most technical, rigorous courses. Think of it less like adding a new app to your phone, and more like upgrading the entire operating system. The old model was a checklist: take finance, take marketing, take an ethics elective. The new model is a web, where every subject is interconnected. The silo is dead. Let's go to the school you'd least expect this from, MIT Sloan. The temple of the quant. the place where spreadsheets and algorithms are the native language. For decades, the mantra was, if you can't measure it, it doesn't matter. But now, MIT is pioneering a new approach. They're not just tacking on a mandatory ethics class. That's the old way. Instead, they are injecting complex, human-centric dilemmas directly into their hardest quantitative subjects. Imagine you're in an advanced analytics class, building a machine learning model to optimize pricing for an insurance company. 10 years ago, the assignment was simple: maximize profit. Your grade depended on the mathematical elegance and profitability of your model. Today, the assignment is fundamentally different. Yes, you still have to build the model, but now you're also required to run a bias and fairness audit. Does your algorithm inadvertently charge higher premiums to people in certain zip codes, effectively redlining them? You have to quantify that bias. Then you have to write a policy memo to a fictional board of directors, not just explaining your model's financial upside, but defending its societal impact. You have to argue why a slightly less profitable, but more equitable, model is the better long-term business decision. Suddenly, a hardcore coding class has become a class about corporate responsibility. A lesson in regression analysis has transformed into a lesson in leadership. The students aren't just learning how to build the machine. They're being forced to grapple with the consequences of the machine they've built. This isn't soft stuff. This is hard stuff. It's the brutal reality of modern business, where a single line of code can ignite a global firestorm. MIT realized that teaching quantitative skills without a framework for ethical application is like giving a child a loaded gun. The new MBA graduate is expected to be not just a quant, but a quant with a conscience. Now let's travel across the country to Stanford's Graduate School of Business, famous for the class that is, in many ways, the polar opposite of an MIT analytics course. Interpersonal dynamics, better known by its legendary nickname, touchy-feely. For years, this class was the gold standard for teaching soft skills. It was about vulnerability, feedback, and emotional intelligence, often taking place in intense, small group sessions. It was seen as the antidote to the cold, calculating world of business. But just as MIT is injecting humanity into its code, Stanford is injecting data and structure into its psychology. Touchy-feely is no longer just about understanding your feelings. It's about applying that understanding in high-stakes, simulated business environments. Stanford has developed incredibly sophisticated leadership simulations, powered by AI and real-time data analytics. Picture this: you're put in charge of a team tasked with launching a new product. But it's a setup. The simulation is designed to make everything go wrong. Your lead engineer threatens to quit. Your marketing budget gets slashed. A key supplier defaults. As you navigate this chaos, the system is tracking everything. It's analyzing the sentiment of your emails to your team. It's measuring how long it takes you to respond to a crisis. It's tracking whether your team's psychological safety, a metric they now quantify, is increasing or decreasing based on your decisions. After the simulation, you don't just get a pat on the back. You get a dashboard, a complete data-driven breakdown of your leadership performance. You can see the exact moment your communication style caused team morale to plummet. You can see how your hesitation to make a tough decision created a bottleneck that cost the project 2 days. The principles of touchy-feely, empathy, clear communication, self-awareness, are no longer abstract concepts. They are data points. They are variables in a performance equation. Stanford is teaching its students that emotional intelligence isn't just a nice-to-have. It is a measurable, optimizable, critical asset for driving results in a complex, tech-driven world. They're proving with data that the soft stuff is the hard stuff. And what about the titan of them all, Harvard Business School? The institution that practically invented the modern business education with its case method. For 100 years, the formula has been the same. Read a case about a historical business problem, come to class, and debate what the protagonist should do. But the very nature of the cases is undergoing a seismic shift. The tidy, single-variable problems of the 20th century are gone. Today's HBS cases are messy, multi-layered, and reflect the chaotic reality of the world we live in. A modern HBS case isn't about whether Ford should launch the Edsel. It's about a company like Shine, the fast fashion giant. And the question isn't just, how can they increase market share? The case demands a holistic, integrated analysis. Students have to build a financial model that accounts for the company's notoriously complex and opaque supply chain. Simultaneously, they have to analyze the geopolitical risk of relying so heavily on Chinese manufacturing. They have to wrestle with the massive ethical and PR fallout from accusations of forced labor and environmental waste. And they have to game out the impact of TikTok-driven consumer trends that can change in the blink of an eye. The classroom discussion is no longer a simple debate. It's a war room. One student with a background in private equity will argue for the financial efficiencies of the model. Another, from a nonprofit background, will challenge its ethical foundations. A third, a former software engineer, will question its technological sustainability. The goal is not to find the one right answer. The goal is to train students to hold all of these conflicting realities in their heads at once: the financial, the ethical, the technological, the social, and make a decision anyway. HBS is no longer teaching business administration. It's teaching complexity administration. It's forging leaders who don't just solve problems, but can manage wicked, interconnected systems where every decision has a dozen unintended consequences. What we are witnessing is the birth of the full-stack leader. In the world of software development, a full-stack developer is someone who understands every layer of the technology, from the user interface to the database. They see the whole system. This is the new archetype for the MBA. Not a specialist in finance or a guru in marketing, but a systems thinker who understands that the code, the capital, and the culture are all part of the same integrated whole. They can speak the language of engineers, the language of investors, and the language of the consumer, and more importantly, they can translate between them. Because in the 21st century, the biggest opportunities and the most dangerous threats don't live in a single department. They live in the spaces between them. The old MBA prepared you to run a division. The new MBA is designed to prepare you to understand the entire ecosystem. So with this radical new curriculum designed to forge a new type of leader, the billion-dollar question becomes: how do you get in? What is the new unwritten code to crack admissions at these schools? It's a code that has less to do with what's on your resume and more to do with who you are. For decades, the MBA admissions game was a numbers game, a simple, brutal equation. Your GMAT score plus your GPA plus the prestige of your employer equaled your chances. It was a race to collect gold stars, to build a perfect, polished resume that screamed low risk. You worked at Goldman Sachs? Check. You got a 760 on the GMAT? Check. You were president of the undergraduate finance club? Check. The goal was to be unimpeachable, to present a flawless record of achievement that no admissions committee could possibly reject. You were trying to prove you were smart and successful. But in today's world, that's just the ticket to the game. It's not the way you win. The new code, the unwritten rule at schools like Stanford, Harvard, and Wharton, is that they are no longer admitting resumes. They are admitting human beings. And human beings are not flawless. They are complex, driven by unique motivations, and forged in the fires of both success and, more importantly, failure. They aren't looking for someone who checks all the boxes. They're looking for someone who breaks the box. The central question has shifted from, "What have you accomplished?" to "Why do you care?" Imagine two candidates applying to a top-tier school. Candidate A is the classic profile: 3.9 GPA from an Ivy League, a 770 GMAT, and 4 years as an analyst at a top consulting firm. On paper, they are perfect. In their essay, they write that they want an MBA to pivot into venture capital and accelerate their career. It's logical. It's safe. Boring. Now meet candidate B. Their GPA is a 3.6. Their GMAT is a 720. They worked for 2 years at a decent but not top-tier tech company. But then they left. They spent the next 2 years co-founding a nonprofit that develops low-cost water filtration systems for rural communities in Southeast Asia. A passion that stemmed from a trip they took in college. They faced bureaucratic nightmares, funding shortfalls, and a dozen technical setbacks. Their essay isn't about accelerating their career. It's about how they realized that passion alone can't scale a solution. They need the rigorous financial modeling, the operational expertise, and the network an MBA provides to turn their passion project into a global force that can impact millions of lives. 10 years ago, Candidate A was a shoo-in. Today, Candidate B is the one getting the interview. Why? Because Candidate B has a narrative. They have a why. Their story demonstrates 3 critical qualities that are now worth more than a perfect score: grit, a spike, and emotional intelligence. Let's start with grit. Angela Duckworth, a professor at Wharton, popularized this concept. It's the idea of passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Top business schools have now fully embraced it as a core admissions tenet. They know the world is volatile, and they want leaders who don't fold at the first sign of trouble. They want people who have been knocked down and gotten back up, because that's the reality of modern leadership. Your flawless resume of endless promotions is actually less interesting than that one project that completely blew up in your face. So how do you show it? You lean into your failures. The optional essay, the one that asks you to explain any weaknesses in your application, is no longer optional. It's a golden opportunity. Don't explain away a bad grade by blaming a tough professor. Own it. Talk about what you learned about your study habits, about asking for help, about humility. If you were laid off, don't hide it. Talk about the shock, the resilience it took to network, and the clarity you gained about what you truly wanted in your next role. Admissions officers aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for self-awareness and growth. Your failure isn't a liability. It's the crucible that forged the character they want in their classroom. They want the person who can look a challenge in the eye and say, "I've seen worse. Let's solve this." The second piece of the code is the spike. For years, applicants were told to be well-rounded, to show a little leadership, a little teamwork, a little volunteering. The result was a generation of applicants who all looked vaguely the same. A jack of all trades but a master of none. The new thinking is the exact opposite. Top schools don't want a class of 900 well-rounded individuals. They want a class that, as a whole, is well-rounded, which means it must be composed of 900 spiky individuals. They want the person who is the absolute authority on carbon capture technology. They want the person who spent 5 years on a submarine and understands leadership under extreme pressure. They want the former professional ballerina who can teach the class about discipline and creativity. Your spike is that thing you are a 12 out of 10 on. It's your unique, pointy, and deeply developed area of expertise or passion. It's what makes you interesting. It's the value you, and only you, can bring to a case study discussion. So stop trying to be everything. Find the one thing that truly defines you and go all in. If you're in marketing, don't just say you're a marketer. Are you the person who has built 3 viral TikTok campaigns for CPG brands? That's a spike. If you're in finance, don't just be an analyst. Are you the person who built the definitive valuation model for renewable energy startups in Latin America? That's a spike. Your job in the application is to identify your spike and build your entire narrative around it. It's the sharp point of your spear, the thing that will make you stick in the mind of an admissions officer sifting through thousands of applications. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, is the shift from IQ to EQ, emotional intelligence. A high GMAT score proves you can handle the quantitative rigor, proves you have the raw intellectual horsepower, but it says nothing about your ability to lead a team, to inspire a room, to negotiate a delicate deal, or to give difficult feedback with empathy. And in the modern economy, those are the skills that matter. This is why schools are moving beyond the written application and relying more on dynamic, interactive evaluations. The Wharton team-based discussion is a prime example. They put a group of applicants in a room, give them a problem, and watch. They're not looking for the person with the smartest answer. They're looking for the person who facilitates the conversation. The one who asks, "Sarah, you've been quiet, what are your thoughts?" The one who can synthesize 2 competing ideas into a stronger third option. The one who can disagree respectfully and build consensus. Similarly, the rise of the video essay is a test of your poise, your passion, and your ability to communicate authentically under pressure. Can you convey your why with conviction when it's just you and a webcam? Can you think on your feet? They are actively screening for humility, for listening skills, for the ability to connect with others. The brilliant jerk who alienates their team is now seen as a massive liability, no matter how high their GMAT score is. The empathetic connector, the person who makes everyone around them better, is the new model of leadership they are desperate to find. Grit, a spike in EQ. This isn't just a new set of hoops to jump through. It's a fundamental change in the philosophy of what makes a great leader. The schools are redesigning their curriculum for a more complex, unpredictable, and human-centric world, and they are re-engineering their admissions process to find the people who are already wired to thrive in it. They are filtering for character, not just for accomplishment. So you've found your spike, you've embraced your failures, and you understand your why. But how do you package all of this into a story that an admissions officer can't ignore? It all comes down to 2 or 3 short essays that will define your entire candidacy. And the single biggest mistake people make on them is trying to sound impressive. Instead of showcasing strength, it showcases insecurity. Think about it from the perspective of an admissions officer at a school like Wharton or Kellogg. They read thousands, literally thousands, of applications every single year. They have developed an almost supernatural ability to detect inauthenticity. When they read an essay filled with jargon, buzzwords, and a laundry list of accomplishments, their eyes glaze over. It's a defense mechanism. The applicant is hiding behind a shield of achievement, terrified to show the real, messy, human person underneath. And that person, the one who has struggled, failed, and learned, is exactly who they want to meet. The modern MBA classroom is not a lecture hall where you passively absorb information. It is a crucible. It's built on case studies where there are no right answers, on team projects with intense interpersonal dynamics, and on peer feedback sessions that can be brutally honest. A candidate who presents themselves as a flawless, polished superhero is signaling that they are uncoachable. They're signaling that they have no room to grow. And if you have no room to grow, why on earth would you need an MBA? The new currency of leadership, and therefore of MBA admissions, is vulnerability. It's the courage to talk about a failure not as a disguised success, the classic "my biggest weakness is I work too hard," but as a genuine painful setback. It's the ability to articulate not just what you did, but why it mattered to you on a deeply personal level. Let's look at the most famous MBA essay prompt in the world. Stanford GSB's, "What matters most to you and why?" For decades, applicants have wrestled with this question. The wrong way to answer it is to try and guess what Stanford wants to hear. What matters most to me is leveraging disruptive technology to empower emerging economies. It sounds impressive. It's also completely hollow. It reveals nothing about the applicant's character, their journey, or their soul. An admissions officer reads that and thinks, okay, another consultant. The right answer starts with a story, a real story. Maybe what matters most to you is community. Why? Because you moved every 2 years as a kid in a military family, and the only stability you had was the instant, welcoming community you found in local basketball teams. So you tell the story of one specific team, one specific game, one specific moment of connection that taught you more about belonging than any textbook ever could. Or maybe what matters most to you is creative expression. Why? Because your father worked a soul-crushing job for 30 years to provide for his family, and you watched the light slowly fade from his eyes. You tell the story of the one thing that brought him joy, building intricate model ships in the basement, and how that taught you that a career without passion is a slow death. Now your goal to build a media company that supports independent artists isn't just a career choice. It's a mission to honor your father's sacrifice. See the difference? One is a performance. The other is a confession. One is a resume in prose. The other is a window into a human heart. That vulnerability is magnetic. It creates an emotional connection with the reader. They're not just evaluating a candidate anymore. They're rooting for a person. This philosophy extends to even the most open-ended questions, like Harvard Business School's prompt, which for years has simply been, "As we review your application, what more would you like us to know?" This is a brilliant and terrifying question. It's a blank canvas. The biggest mistake applicants make is treating it as an invitation to write essay, part 2, more of my awesome accomplishments. They'll write about a deal they closed, a project they led, or an award they won. They're still trying to sound impressive. But the savvy applicant understands this is an opportunity to show a completely different dimension. This is where you tell the story that doesn't fit anywhere else on the application. The story of how you trained for your first marathon and what hitting the wall at mile 22 taught you about mental resilience. The story of caring for a sick family member and what it taught you about empathy and selfless leadership. The story of your disastrous attempt to start a band in college and what it taught you about team dynamics, creative conflict, and the humiliation of a poorly attended gig. These aren't stories of corporate success. They are stories of human experience. They demonstrate qualities like grit, compassion, and humility far more powerfully than just claiming to have them. HBS knows you're smart. Your GMAT and your GPA already proved that. They know you're accomplished. Your resume proved that. The essay is their one chance to figure out if you're a human being they and 900 other brilliant, ambitious people would want to be stuck in a room with for 2 years. This shift isn't happening in a vacuum. It directly reflects the evolution of the MBA curriculum itself. The most oversubscribed and legendary course at Stanford is, famously, Interpersonal Dynamics, known to everyone as touchy-feely. It's a course where students are put in small groups and taught how to give and receive brutally honest feedback, how to understand their emotional impact on others, and how to build relationships of profound trust. At Harvard, the entire first year is built on the case method, which is less about finding the right answer and more about learning how to articulate your viewpoint, listen to others, and build a consensus under pressure. These schools have realized that in the 21st century, the most valuable leadership skills aren't just analytical and quantitative. They are fundamentally human. The ability to inspire a team, the self-awareness to know your own blind spots, the resilience to bounce back from failure, the empathy to understand a customer's true needs. These are the skills that separate good managers from great leaders. And they can't be taught to someone who isn't willing to be vulnerable. So your application essay is your first test. It's not a test of your accomplishments. It's a test of your self-awareness. It's not about crafting a perfect image. It's about having the courage to share an imperfect, authentic story. It's about showing the admissions committee that you have the raw material, the humility, the curiosity, and the humanity that they can mold into the kind of leader the world actually needs. Once you've poured your heart into that essay and it's finally perfect, you hit submit. And for a few weeks there's silence. Then an email arrives. An invitation. But the relief is short-lived because now you face the final gatekeeper. The one-on-one interaction that can make or break your entire dream. The MBA interview. And the questions they're asking now are more personal, more probing, and more designed to uncover the real you than ever before. For decades, the MBA interview was a predictable game. You'd prepare your 3 greatest strengths, your 1 acceptable weakness, something like I'm a perfectionist or I care too much, and you'd rehearse your tell me about a time you led a team story until it was polished to a blinding sheen. The goal was to present a flawless, invincible version of yourself. That game is over. Today, that flawless, invincible candidate is the one who gets rejected. Admissions committees or adcoms are drowning in perfection. They have stacks of applications from consultants with perfect GMAT scores, bankers with flawless deal sheets, and engineers with patents to their name. Your stats got you to the door. They proved your competence. But the interview isn't about competence anymore. It's about character. It's about your humanity. Think of it from their perspective. They aren't just admitting a collection of high achievers. They are curating a community. They are casting an ensemble for a 2-year-long high-intensity performance. They already have plenty of lead actors. What they need now are people who can listen, who can support, who can challenge ideas without attacking the person, who can fail, learn from it, and get back up with humility. They are looking for emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and resilience. And you can't find those qualities on a resume. You find them in the cracks, in the unscripted moments, in the stories that don't have a perfect, happy ending. So the interview has transformed from a performance into a diagnostic. They are probing for the real you, not the rehearsed you. The questions have fundamentally changed. The classic, tell me about a time you demonstrated leadership, has evolved. Now you're more likely to hear, tell me about a time your leadership style failed. What was the core of the resistance from your team? And what did that experience teach you about your own blind spots? They don't want the story where you heroically saved the day. They want the story where you messed up, where you were humbled, and where you had to fundamentally change your approach. They want to see your capacity for growth. Another classic, what's your biggest weakness? Is dead. Instead, they'll ask, what is a piece of constructive feedback you've received that was genuinely difficult to hear? Who gave it to you and how did you process it, both emotionally and professionally? This question isn't about finding a flaw. It's about testing your coachability, your ego, and your ability to handle criticism. A skill you'll need every single day in an MBA program. They're also digging deeper into your motivations. A question like, why our school? Is no longer satisfied with, because you have a great brand and a strong finance program. The new version is, you've had conversations with our students and alumni. Who did you speak with? And what specific insight from those conversations convinced you that this is the only community for you? This is a test of your diligence and your genuine interest. It separates the applicants who are shotgunning applications to every top 10 school from those who have truly invested themselves in understanding a school's unique culture. They want to know you've done the work, that you see yourself not just as a student, but as an active contributor to their specific ecosystem. They'll even ask things that seem deceptively simple, like, what do you do for fun? Or, what's the last book you read that wasn't for work or school? They're trying to see if you're a multidimensional human being, someone who can connect with classmates over more than just a discounted cash flow model. This search for authenticity has led to the rise of new, more dynamic interview formats designed specifically to break through practice responses. The most famous of these is the Wharton School's team-based discussion. You and a handful of other applicants are put in a room, given a prompt, and tasked with developing a tangible outcome together. There are no right answers. The AdCom observers aren't evaluating the quality of your final idea. They are evaluating the process. Are you the person who speaks first and dominates the conversation? Are you the one who sits back silently and offers nothing? Or are you the one who listens actively, who builds on others' ideas, who asks clarifying questions, who brings a quiet member into the conversation, and who helps guide the group toward a consensus? They are simulating a study group meeting, the absolute core of the MBA experience, to see how you actually behave in a team setting. It's a brilliant way to see if your essays about being a collaborative leader are actually true. Other schools are adopting similar methods, from case-based interviews to group challenges, all designed to see you in action. So how do you prepare for an interview that's designed to be unpreparable? You stop preparing answers and you start preparing yourself. The old model of memorizing stories is obsolete. The new model is about deep, honest self-reflection. Before you even think about a single question, you need to have a clear, unshakable understanding of your own narrative. Not just what you did, but why you did it. What drives you? What are your core values, and can you point to specific moments in your life, both personal and professional, where you lived or failed to live by those values? The classic STAR method for answering behavioral questions, situation, task, action, result, is no longer enough. You need to upgrade to STAR plus R. Situation, task, action, result, and reflection. That last R is the most important part. After you describe the result, you must articulate what you learned. How did this experience change your perspective? How has it shaped the leader you are today and the student you will be tomorrow? The reflection is where you showcase your maturity and self-awareness. Instead of a story bank of your greatest hits, you need to build a growth bank. A collection of moments of failure, moments of uncertainty, moments of difficult feedback, and moments of profound learning. Those are the stories that reveal character. Your research has to go deeper too. Go beyond the school's website. Use LinkedIn to find students with similar backgrounds and ask for a 15-minute virtual coffee chat. Be respectful of their time, but be specific in your questions. Ask them about the program's culture, about a professor who challenged them, about a club that changed their trajectory. When you can say in your interview, "I was speaking with second-year student Jane Doe, and she told me how Professor Smith's class on social impact bonds completely reshaped her career goals. That really resonated with me because you are demonstrating a level of interest and initiative that is simply undeniable." And finally, remember that the interview is a two-way street. The questions you ask at the end are just as important as the answers you give. Don't ask something you can Google in 5 seconds, like, "How many students are in the program?" Ask something insightful that shows you've been listening and that you're thinking about your potential contribution. A great question might be, "You mentioned the school is increasing its focus on data analytics. How are students from non-quantitative backgrounds being supported in getting up to speed and truly thriving in those more technical courses?" This shows you're thinking realistically about the challenges and you're proactive about your own development. Ultimately, the new MBA interview is not a test to be passed, but a conversation to be had. They are not trying to trick you. They are trying to meet you. They are giving you the opportunity to pull back the curtain on your polished resume and show them the curious, resilient, and imperfect human being who is ready to learn, contribute, and grow. This is the person they want in their classroom, and mastering this conversation is your final step before you walk through the doors and begin the transformation you've been working toward. But what actually happens once you're on the other side? How has the classroom itself been completely re-engineered to forge this new kind of leader? The first thing you need to understand is that the traditional lecture is dead. Gone. If you picture an MBA classroom as a professor standing at a podium, talking for 2 hours while 100 students furiously take notes, you're picturing a museum. Today's top programs have completely inverted that model. The core knowledge transfer, the stuff you used to get from a lecture, now happens before you even set foot in the classroom. You'll watch pre-recorded videos from your professor, you'll digest foundational readings, you'll analyze datasets on your own time. Why? Because class time is now far too valuable to be wasted on one-way information dumps. It has become a dedicated arena for application, for debate, for collision. It's not about passively receiving information anymore. It's about actively wrestling with it. The classroom is now a laboratory for leadership, and the primary tool is no longer the textbook, but the case method, reimagined for the 21st century. The Harvard case method has been the gold standard for a century, forcing students to step into the shoes of a protagonist facing a critical business dilemma. But even that is evolving. Forget analyzing a dusty case about General Electric strategy in 1985. The new case method is alive. It's dynamic. At Columbia Business School, you might be handed a raw case. There's no neat 20-page narrative. Instead, you get a messy folder of internal company emails, contradictory news articles, a chaotic spreadsheet, and a video clip of an unnerved CEO. There's no single right answer, because the problem is still unfolding. At Stanford, you might find the actual CEO of the company you're studying sitting in the back of the room, waiting to hear your team's recommendation, and to tell you exactly where your assumptions went wrong. This isn't a historical autopsy. It's a live-fire exercise in decision-making under extreme ambiguity, the single most critical skill for any modern leader. The goal isn't to find the answer in the back of the book. The goal is to learn how to function when there is no book. But analyzing reality is one thing. Creating it is another. This is where top schools are borrowing a page from fighter pilot training. High-fidelity simulation. Imagine this. You and your team of 5 are given control of a multi-million-dollar virtual company. You're competing in a dynamic market against other teams in your class. For an entire semester, you are the C-suite. You set the price of your product. You decide the marketing budget. You manage your supply chain. You respond to unexpected events. A competitor slashes their prices. A new technology emerges. A political crisis disrupts your key supplier. Every decision you make has an immediate, quantifiable consequence on your stock price, your market share, your profitability. These aren't simple games. They're powered by complex algorithms that model real-world market dynamics. At MIT Sloan, they're famous for their action learning labs, which include incredibly sophisticated simulations like the beer game, which brutally exposes the complexities of supply chain management. It's one thing to read about the bullwhip effect in a textbook. It's another thing entirely to live through it, to feel the panic as your warehouses overflow with unsold product because of a decision you made 3 weeks ago. This is where theory collides with gut-wrenching reality. You're not just learning business, you're experiencing the visceral stress and triumph of running one. This drive to bridge the gap between theory and practice has culminated in what is arguably the most transformative part of the modern MBA. Action-based learning. This isn't an internship. This is putting your nascent skills to the test on real problems for real companies that have real money on the line. At the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business, the Multidisciplinary Action Projects, or MAP program, is a required 7-week consulting engagement. It's a cornerstone of their entire curriculum. One student team might be in Detroit, developing a market entry strategy for an electric vehicle startup. Another might be in Ghana, designing a microfinance solution for a local NGO. A third could be in Silicon Valley, helping a major tech firm figure out how to monetize a new AI platform. You're not just writing a report. You're working on-site, interviewing employees, analyzing proprietary data, and presenting your final, actionable recommendations to the company's senior leadership. They aren't grading you on effort. They're judging you on the quality and feasibility of your ideas. It's the ultimate apprenticeship, moving you from student to practitioner before you've even graduated. The stakes are real, the problems are messy, and the experience is unforgettable. And the problems themselves are becoming too complex to be solved by business minds alone. The biggest breakthroughs in the world today are happening at the intersections of different fields. And so the MBA classroom is breaking down its walls. At Northwestern's Kellogg, MBA students in the Zell Fellows program, an elite venture accelerator, are paired with students from the McCormick School of Engineering and the Pritzker School of Law. The engineer builds the prototype, the lawyer handles the patent and corporate structure, and the MBA student builds the business model and go-to-market strategy. Together, they don't just write a business plan, they launch an actual business. This cross-pollination is happening everywhere. At Harvard, you'll find students from the business school, the Kennedy School of Government, and the law school all collaborating in a single class on social enterprise. They're learning a critical lesson. The most brilliant business strategy is useless without the technical know-how to build it and the legal and regulatory understanding to navigate it. The future isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about knowing how to build the smartest team, pulling expertise from every discipline to attack a problem from all sides. Guiding this entire process is a new breed of professor. Yes, the tenured academics and brilliant researchers are still there, pushing the frontiers of knowledge. But they are now joined in the classroom by a cadre of professors of practice. These are the men and women who have actually been in the arena. They are retired CEOs, seasoned venture capitalists, serial entrepreneurs, and former partners from top consulting firms. They don't just teach the case. They wrote the case because they lived it. They can tell you what it felt like in the boardroom during a hostile takeover. They can explain the subtle art of negotiating a term sheet because they've done it 100 times. They provide a layer of context, of lived experience, that no textbook can capture. They become more than instructors. They become mentors, connectors, and guides, opening up their personal networks and providing the kind of candid, unvarnished advice that forges careers. When you put all these pieces together, the flipped classroom, the live cases, the intense simulations, the real-world consulting projects, the interdisciplinary teams, and the mentorship from industry veterans, you realize what's truly being built. It's a crucible. It's an intentionally designed, high-pressure environment meant to accelerate personal and professional growth at a rate that is simply impossible to achieve in the normal working world. It's 2 years of condensed experience, forcing you to lead teams, persuade skeptics, manage conflict, and make decisions with incomplete information over and over again. The curriculum isn't just about filling your head with knowledge. It's about rewiring your brain. It's about building mental models, honing your judgment, and developing a profound sense of resilience. The intense, often overwhelming process is the product. It's designed to break down your old ways of thinking so that something stronger, more adaptable, and more impactful can be built in their place. This is the new factory for leadership. It's a place where you don't just learn about the future of business, you actively build it, fail at it, and rebuild it again, all before graduation. But after emerging from this 2-year crucible, what is the final defining characteristic of this new MBA graduate? What is the one meta skill that all of this training is designed to instill? The one thing that will truly separate them from the pack in the age of AI and unprecedented change. It's called radical adaptability, and it's not just a skill, it's a fundamental mindset. It's the core operating system that business schools are now trying to install in every single graduate. For decades, the MBA was about mastery. You mastered finance. You mastered marketing. You mastered operations. You left with a toolkit of proven models and frameworks, ready to apply them to a relatively stable corporate world. You were the expert with the answers. That world is gone. The new world doesn't reward the expert with the old answers. It rewards the leader who can find new questions. It rewards the individual who can learn, unlearn, and relearn in a single business cycle. Radical adaptability is the capacity to thrive in a state of constant flux. It's not just being resilient when things change. It's about being the agent of change. It's about having the intellectual agility to hold two opposing ideas in your mind at the same time and still function. It's about having the emotional fortitude to lead a team into a future that is, by its very nature, unknowable. So how on earth do you teach that? You can't put Radical Adaptability 101 on a syllabus. You have to forge it. And these schools are forging it in 3 critical ways. First, they've completely upended the legendary case study method. The classic Harvard case study was a business autopsy. You'd look back at a decision Ford or Coca-Cola made in 1985, dissect what went wrong, and identify the correct path. It was a puzzle with a known solution. Today, the most innovative cases are what you might call live or forward-looking. Instead of analyzing the past, students are dropped into a messy, incomplete, real-time business problem. They're given the same limited, often contradictory data a real CEO would have, and they have to make a call. There is no right answer in the back of the book because the story hasn't finished yet. The goal is no longer to find the right answer, but to develop a rigorous, defensible process for making the best possible decision under extreme uncertainty. They run simulations where a new piece of information, a competitor's move, a supply chain disruption, a new government regulation, is introduced halfway through, forcing the entire team to pivot their strategy on a dime. The grade isn't for the outcome, it's for the quality of the pivot. Second, they are engineering failure. This sounds counterintuitive, but it's essential. The traditional MBA path was designed to be a gilded, upward slope. You were groomed for success. The new MBA curriculum purposefully integrates experiences where students are expected to fail. In venture capital labs and startup incubators, 9 out of 10 projects will flame out. That's the point. The learning isn't in building a billion-dollar company in 12 weeks. The learning is in the postmortem of the failure. Why did our assumptions fail? How did our team dynamic break down under pressure? What cognitive biases led us down the wrong path? By experiencing and analyzing these small, controlled failures in a safe environment, graduates build an immunity to the fear of failure that paralyzes so many established organizations. They learn that the most valuable data often comes from the experiment that didn't work. Third, they are forcing intellectual cross-pollination at an unprecedented scale. The old MBA was a silo. You learned business from business professors, alongside other business students. Now, the most valuable classes are often the ones that are the least business-focused. At Stanford, you'll find MBA candidates co-creating products with engineering students at the D. School. At MIT, they're in labs with data scientists from the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. At Northwestern, they're collaborating with law students on the intricacies of intellectual property and with journalism students on crisis communication strategies. This constant interaction with different ways of thinking shatters the rigid frameworks of a traditional business education. An MBA student learns to speak the language of engineers, to understand the constraints of lawyers, and to appreciate the narrative power of storytellers. This is the very essence of adaptability. The ability to step outside your own domain of expertise, integrate disparate perspectives, and synthesize a more holistic, robust solution. And this brings us back to the great disruptor of our age, artificial intelligence. Why is radical adaptability the ultimate human skill in the age of AI? Because it focuses on the very things that AI cannot do. AI is a prediction machine. It can analyze vast datasets, recognize patterns, and optimize for a defined outcome with superhuman efficiency. If your job is to run the same playbook over and over, AI will eventually do it better, faster, and cheaper. But AI struggles with what it hasn't seen before. It falters in the face of true novelty, of paradigm shifts, of black swan events. It doesn't have the contextual awareness to navigate complex human emotions, politics, and cultures. It can't build trust. It can't inspire a team to take a terrifying but necessary leap of faith. The new MBA graduate is being trained not to compete with AI, but to collaborate with it. They are the human in the loop. They are the ones who will frame the problem that the AI is set to solve. They will question the assumptions baked into the algorithm. They will interpret the AI's output, layer on qualitative judgment and ethical considerations, and make the final courageous call. They will use AI as the most powerful analytical tool in history, but their unique value will lie in their ability to manage ambiguity, to lead people through change, and to make wise decisions when the data runs out. In the end, after all the talk of data science, global supply chains, and venture capital, the future of the MBA comes down to something profoundly and reassuringly human. All of this training, the quantitative rigor, the ethical dilemmas, the global immersion, the entrepreneurial failures, is in service of creating a more complete, more resilient, and more adaptable leader. The business world of the 20th century needed managers who could maintain stability and optimize existing systems. The world of the 21st century needs leaders who can navigate constant instability and create entirely new systems. It needs leaders who see a supply chain disruption not just as a crisis, but as an opportunity to build a more resilient network. It needs leaders who see the rise of AI not as a threat, but as a chance to unlock unprecedented human potential. The transformation of the American MBA is more than just a curriculum update. It's a response to a fundamental shift in the nature of our world. It's an acknowledgement that the challenges we face, from climate change to social inequality to technological disruption, are too complex for any one discipline to solve. They require a new kind of leader, one who can integrate the analytical with the human, the technological with the ethical, and the profitable with the purposeful. The top business schools have realized that they are no longer in the business of just creating careers. They are in the business of forging the leaders who will be tasked with navigating the most complex and turbulent period of change in human history. The question they are now asking their students is no longer simply, how can you succeed in business? It is, how will you lead business to build a better future? And the answer to that question will define everything that comes next.